Well, I thought in a rush of blood that I would have the windscreen frame plated in the holidays. Now, at one point I thought it would be good enough to keep, and it's actually in pretty good condition, but it's not good enough really and needs redoing. So the windscreen has got a big crack in it there, you can see. These are the stanchions for the 106, which are made out of aluminium, and they screw on to the side of the windscreen like that. So these are a little bit corroded in a couple of places, but I'm pretty sure they'll come back. The problem is going to be getting the windscreen separated, because these are held together with little screws. You can see a couple there, and there are also some just around there. So inside this frame there are 4 angles, which may or may not be any good. You can buy them. The problem is, you can see these screws are pretty badly corroded, and they're flathead screws too, so they might be even harder to get out. And I don't think I can heat this frame because it might crack the glass. Not that that really matters, but it could be dangerous. So that's going to be the next job. I'm not in a hurry to do it, so I'll just tinker around with that today and see what I can come up with. Well, hello everybody. It's been a while since I made a video. I've been rather busy doing some stuff around the house, but I've made a little progress on the Healey. The weather here is starting to slowly cool into autumn in the beautiful Adelaide Hills, although it's still a little bit warm, 34 degrees, but the weather is perfect for British motoring. And I met up with an old acquaintance, friend of mine, who I haven't seen for probably 30 years, and he and I had a drink and took the MGA out on the weekend. He's an old car buff, I suppose, and used to have a bug-eye, but doesn't own one anymore. So he had a drive of the MGA, and I think had a good day, and I did too. And it was really nice to get out in the country here in this beautiful autumn weather. So good on you, Rick. I enjoyed your company, and I'm pretty sure that you enjoyed driving the MGA. Anyway, on to the Healey. Now, I have made a little progress here. Some bits and pieces over the last month or so, probably since I made a video. The first thing is that you can see I've made the back seat swab here. And this, as you will know, I don't know, it's not in place at the moment because I only have one hand. This lifts out, and you can see that there. That's how it, if you wanted to, not sure how it goes, that's how it licks in there into that little slide. And then these pieces here lock it in place. And of course, the hood folds down behind that, and this has to be trimmed. So that comes in, and I don't think I can do it with one hand, but maybe I can. And it locks in place like that. A little tricky to make because it's got a curve in there, but I made it out of some Australian oak I had here, which is basically a eucalyptus. The other thing I've done that you can see is these Cockpit Surrounds. Now, I know that they should be anodized. They were very badly knocked around. I filed all the scratches and dents out of them and polished them up by hand. A lot of work, but they've come up very well. And as you can see, they actually look pretty good. Pretty pleased with that. I don't know how they'll go as far as weathering. They might tarnish. You can already see there's a little bit of grease there from somebody's hand. I have polished them with a wax, and we'll see how they go anyway. The steering wheel I recoated. I had another go at it. You may remember from one of the previous videos that it wasn't that successful. I've put a lot more work into it, primed it again, sanded it back and recoated it, and it looks pretty good now. But I suspect that when the sun gets to it, I think some of those cracks might come back. I'm not totally convinced that that's going to be successful, so I'll deal with that sometime in the future when I've got the car on the road. Now, the other thing which is quite neat, while we're on the subject of the steering wheel, is if I turn the ignition on and put the indicators on, you can see the indicator light flashing there, And hey presto, we have indicators, back and front. And that's a bit of a milestone actually, because I had thought that they probably wouldn't work because of the servo box, or whatever it's called that you would know about. The other thing is I have side and headlamps, which is very cool, I think. And we go there. So that's all working and that's all hunky-dory, and I'm very pleased with that. There's something about getting the electricity back into these cars that makes them feel alive. Well, at least for me anyway. So we'll just turn that off. The other thing I've done is fitted the internal door panels. And you can see they've come up pretty well. Not 100% happy with them. They're made of plywood, which is the same as the originals were made. And there's a little bit of warping in there, so it is possible that I might make them again. I'm not sure about that, but it all operates very well. And you can see that there's a little bit of twisting. They probably did that from new, I don't know. And of course the little attachment points there for the side curtains, and also this sort of cover flange here that covers the door latch mechanism, and those little round douvers there that the other part of the side curtain fits into. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I still have to put a little bit of white vinyl on that edge there. Somebody suggested that it should have that, and I'm going to do that before I put the windscreen in. So that's it there. The doors are beautifully nice, solid feel when they're shut. Shut lines are good, and generally I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing I've done is paint the windscreen frames. Now they're aluminium and some people polish them up. They should be painted to match the body, so I've painted them to match the body. I'm about to start stripping the windscreen frame down, and we'll see how we go with that. I think some of the screws in there are going to be quite difficult to do. So I think that's probably about it. Quite a lot of progress made. I've got one of the reflectors in. These are reproduction ones. I haven't put the other side in just yet. They're quite tricky to get in, and I just haven't got around to it, so I'll work on that shortly. So that's about it. Good progress. Start work on the windscreen, I guess. And just as a little addendum to that, there's something I've forgotten, which I really have to do, and that's this. Very loud Healey horn, but it works. Well, I managed to get that frame apart. It wasn't all that easy. I had to drill out quite a few of the screws, and the interior brackets that hold the frame together were a little bit damaged. So I bought a new set in anticipation of that, which are these little things here. They've got internal threads, and they just hold the windscreen frame together like that. And there's two screws on either side, like you could see in the last video, and these are the little screws that go in there. That kit wasn't all that expensive, and it's probably better than making my own, and this is plated, so it's less likely to tarnish. I've had the frame chrome plated at great cost, I might add, and it's come up very well now. Initially it didn't. I was not very pleased at all with the top, outside of the top piece, and I took that back to them and said that I didn't think I could use it. It was a fairly rough job and hadn't been polished properly, and they redid it for me at no cost, as they probably should. The windscreen, of course, is brand new. It came from a local supplier, PGI. And there's the little tag that's still on it, which tells me it's a Healey 3000, 106, BN7, BT7, Mark 1, Mark 2, etc. Roadster. So that should fit okay. I've got new windscreen seal to put in there. I have to say I've never had a lot of luck with those, and always ended up putting them together with some sort of cartridge seal, not a silicone, but something along those lines. So we'll see how we go with that, and I think that will be the subject of another video, because I really don't want to rush that. It's always a bit risky, and I don't want to break anything, so I'm going to take my time with that. But I will set up the camera and film putting some of that windscreen in, and then if I break it, the whole world will be able to watch. So I guess that's it for now, and I'm not sure when I'm going to get time to do this windscreen. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.